So when you build a good product that supports and helps people with a modality that they already have, that no longer they can drink coffee, you're building an immense amount of PR through the customer base. And that customer base will be essentially diehards, and they will swear by it. And so they tell their friends, hey, this coffee is amazing. Well, Tyler's Coffees can put marketing dollars on a Facebook ad and say this coffee is amazing. And most people are going to be like, yeah, okay, the company says that they're cool. That's awesome. But when you have your friends say this company's awesome, that holds way more weight. And so what happens is people buy it.
Hey, it's Rocky. Welcome to Richer Soul. Today's guest is Tyler Ornstein, the founder of Tyler's Coffee, to share his incredible journey. Imagine it's 12 months from now, and you've achieved your major life goals. How does it feel to be in the best shape of your life? To wake up energized, excited about the day? To have great relationships and friends who support you and propel you forward? How does it feel to have an excess of money, to be able to make the choices you want? To be fearless and open to trying new adventures? Imagine being connected to the universe and it providing everything you desire. It's possible over time, and your past does not dictate your future. The only thing holding you back from this vision is you. It's time to take control of our thoughts and use them to our advantage. Welcome to Richer Soul, where we achieve our dreams and bring balance to health, wealth, relationships, time, and spirituality. If you have not had a chance to listen to episodes 1 through 9, I encourage you to go back and listen to the framework behind Richer Soul and how to create the life of your dreams. You can also find all the show notes for this episode at richersoul.com. While you're there, you can sign up for a monthly email where I share the best articles I read this month, let you know about upcoming episodes, and share a little wisdom. You can also listen to coaching calls under the Coaching Calls tab. I also share the most interesting articles I read every week on Facebook at facebook.com/Richer Soul. And there's also a Facebook group where you can ask questions and interact with other listeners. Today's quote is from Alexander Den Heiger. When a flower doesn't bloom, we fix the environment in which it grows, not the flower. That's an interesting thought to ponder. Because too often when it comes to humans, we blame the person and not the environment. We're going to touch a little on that subject with our guest today. But first, let's review last week's action step. Janet shared to get out of our head and into our energy and ask, what is the energy I'm giving off? For me, it's hard to get out of my head. It's been a lifelong journey, but every day I get a little bit better. And it comes back to the quote, what's the energy around me? And do I need to fix that as well? Do I need to fix my environment so that I'm more in tune? I think it's a little bit of both. Overcoming our emotions is not easy. I'm currently reading The Speed of Trust from Stephen Covey. He brings up an interesting point that the cost of lack of trust is massive in our work and in our life. Do you put effort into building trust? And what happens when you're in a place with a lack of trust? I think we take a lot for granted in the U.S. and that we have a very high trust society. But even in that, many people specifically don't trust others. One reason is that you don't do what you say you will do. And I'm talking about small matters and large matters. Those small slights cause people to lose trust, and it's very hard to measure the cost of that. I have to say, it's a great book on the subject, and I'm very much enjoying it. As you listen to today's episode, pay attention to how Tyler was taught about money and effort, especially from his grandfather. This is an issue we chat about a lot among parents who have wealth because it's a big problem with the kids. Our guest is Tyler Ornstein, who loved the taste of coffee and the smell of coffee from his first sip at 5 years old. But his father couldn't tolerate it because it upset his stomach. One day, Tyler asked him if he could make a coffee that both of them could drink. So Tyler's dad, Ian, a biochemist, tinkered quietly behind the scenes until he was able to do what no university research lab or mega corporation could do. He created an acid-free coffee that anyone can drink without digestive disruption. He created the world's first acid-free coffee that's actually healthy to drink. Let's meet our guest and learn more about how this came to be in his journey. Welcome to Richer Soul, Tyler Ornstein. It's great to have you join us today.
Thank you. I sincerely appreciate it, Rocky.
And I'm excited to learn from you today. And let's start from the beginning. What was it like when you were growing up, and how much did your family and school teach you about money?
My school taught me zero about money. I would say the most influential person that taught me about money was my grandfather. My grandfather was astronomically wealthy, multimillionaire. And he came from essentially the Great Depression, when his family had nothing and he was walking around putting cardboard in his shoes because he couldn't afford to buy shoes. And after the Great Depression, he got a job washing cars and kind of grew it up that way. And at one point, he said, "Hey, I want to move out to Arizona," which I'm born and raised in Arizona. And when he moved out to Arizona, he realized that it was pretty much a cow town, and people rode horses and didn't have cars. And so he then went back to Chicago and Detroit, and he talked to GM and said, "Well, I'd love to have the opportunity to bring a dealership out here." And they said, "Well, that's great, Bob, but we're not really interested in doing that." And he said, "Well, I'll tell you what if I get a bank to approve me?" And they said, "Okay, yeah, you get a bank to approve you and more the product, we'll see about it." And so a lot of banks turned him down. And at one point, he finally found a private investor by just kind of canvassing the town. And I'm not going to go too much into the story, but what I'm saying is he came from nothing and he built a multi-million-dollar successful business. And when I was 14 at the time, when I started my company, I went to him and I said, "Grandpa, I'd love for you to give me some investment." And he said, "I'll give you absolutely anything you want except money." And I looked at him and I said, "Why? You've got so much money." He goes, "Precisely. I earned it. If I give it to you, you'll never understand how to earn it." And, he took me on vacations, all expense paid, to Aspen, Colorado, Maui, Europe, all these other places, Asia. He took me all over the world, paid for everything, first class everything. Never once gave me $1 personally. Never once gave me $1 personally. And I was probably 19 at the time or 20 at the time. And I said, "Grandpa, again, I don't get it. Like, why are you buying all my things? Why are you paying for everything online, but yet you won't give me any money directly?" He goes, "Because I want you to want money." And I thought about that. I was like, "That's a stupid idea. I don't know what he's talking about." Now that I'm 30 years old, I've got a beautiful house. I've got some really nice cars. I've taken some nice trips. And he was absolutely right. He wanted me to want money. And so I also, started off with an apartment that I couldn't afford the furniture in, and slept on the floor and ate ramen because I had to spend more money on buying inventory for my customers. what it is it's a humbling experience. And this is every serial entrepreneur that's a multi-billionaire, all the way from Elon Musk to Richard Branson to Jeff Bezos to Mark Cuban, Robert Herjavec. All of their stories started from humble roots. And I think that what that does is that makes people just really, really tenacious about success.
It does. And so we had that struggle with our kids because my kids grew up with wealth. And it's like, we've got to figure out how to make sure that you still have a drive to go out and want to create your own wealth and also learn how to use money. Because I saw it many times within generations where the one generation would work hard, the second generation would get propelled, and then the third generation would just blow it all. And so you have to be very intentional in raising kids and money and expectations. And it sounds like your grandfather did a great job.
Yeah. Yeah. He I'll never forget what he said. He's passed now, but he said, Tyler, it's okay to be spoiled. Just don't act it.
Well, yeah, it's okay to have the abundance of money to enjoy things. Correct.
Right.
You need to be humble, and you need to understand that you, through your hard work and sometimes through luck, you've had the opportunities, and that is always nice as well. So where did your entrepreneurial bug come from?
Me, myself, and I. I never thought about going to a location of employment and, being a shirt that clocks in and clocks out. I remember when I was in Cub Scouts, before this craziness happened, I wanted this red Huffy bike. And that was the goal. That was the prize for the most sales of popcorn. And so I was like, I want that freaking red Huffy bike. It was like a red Ferrari to me. And so I said, okay, I'm going to, get some popcorn. And I went to a local grocery store. I stood out front and I had, this popcorn on a table and nice skirt, Cub Scout troop, all that fun stuff. And I'm in my uniform. And I'm like, excuse me, would you like to buy some? No. Excuse me, would you like to buy some popcorn? No. Excuse me, would you like to buy some popcorn? No. I was like, God, I don't know. Selling popcorn was this difficult. Let me think about this. I've got options, right? I've got caramel. I've got cheese. I've got, plain. Got butter, extra butter. Excuse me, which popcorn do you enjoy the most? What do you mean? What do you like? Butter? Do you like caramel? Do you like chocolate? I got all of it. What do you want? I like this one. Okay, here's a sample. You like it? Wow, that's good. Would you like to buy a tin? Yeah. What that did is that trained me to think it's not why you're doing it. If you're doing it the same thing and you're not getting a different result, you're going to see. That's the definition of insanity. So it wasn't the popcorn that wasn't selling. It was I wasn't selling it correctly. And I learned at a very young age how to sell the product correctly. And then at 14, my father came to me and said, Tyler, what's the second largest commodity item in the world? And I said, no idea. So I went to Google coffee versus oil. Interesting. At the time it was billions and now it's trillions, which is insane. But my father and I kind of bonded over coffee. He liked coffee and I liked coffee, but he couldn't drink coffee around the age of 13, 14 because he had ulcers. So my father came to me and said, hey, I think I've engineered an idea and I think it will be able to enjoy coffee again. And I was like, okay. I tried it. Huge coffee lover at the time. I mean, I started drinking coffee when I was like 5 years old. I really enjoyed it. And I was like, wow, this is really good coffee. And I thought to myself, I was like, well, you invented this. He was like, can I sell it? And he was like, sure. And so we got some packs made. And he was working with a mechanical engineer and electrical engineer up in Phoenix. And so I got these silver packs. I put them in my backpack. I got on my red Huffy bike, which I earned, and went door to door. And all I said was, hey, I'm going to give you a sample of coffee. I just want your name and your number. And I'll never forget this really sweet old lady. And I called her up and I said, hi, this is Tyler. I'm the one that dropped off the coffee sample. I just wanted to see what you thought about it. She said, it's really, really good coffee. Where do I get it? And I was like, for me. And she's like, how much is it? And I was like, $1. And she's like, okay, well, come by and give me $10 worth. And pretty much at light bulb moment, okay, we went from test market to conceptualization to someone that's willing to pay for the coffee, and we just grew it out from there.
That's phenomenal. We're going to dig into that. I just want to take a quick step back because my kids also did Scouts, and my daughter did Girl Scouts. She's a big Seth Godin fan. And Seth actually has a blog post about how do you sell Girl Scout cookies. Yeah. And he says, just ask this one question. What's your favorite kind of Girl Scout cookie?
Oh, my God. Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And that's the only question, because it's no longer a no.
Right.
It leads to an emotion, and then, boom, it makes it an experience.
Yeah.
I thought you would love that.
No, that's beautiful.
So the words that you use to describe that whole process of selling the coffee, are those words you've applied to it now, or were you thinking that way at 14?
I was thinking that way at 14.
Where does that come from? 14-year-old kids don't say those words.
You know, I think it's because I grew up around people that were extremely influential. My family is, would hang around very successful people. And listen, for the people that are listening to this podcast that didn't have an upbringing of silver spoon, I guess is the best way to say it, don't feel bad. It's actually a benefit because it allows you to become much more geared towards being successful. The only difference between a successful person and a non-successful person, in my opinion, is it's one thing: work.
That's a 4-letter word.
Yeah, that's it. It's work. If you don't want to work for it, you won't get it. I mean, apparently there's some weird caveat where you can sit on your ass and collect welfare checks, but it will never make you a millionaire. And you can't ever be around the circles of influence that you want to be around. The other thing is Napoleon Hill and Dale Carnegie both said it, and I swear by it. Surround yourself with people that are smarter and more wealthier than you.
So you are the average of the 5 people around you. And so if you put yourself in a room full of higher than average or your average,
right,
then you will level up. If you put yourself in a room of below your average or equal to your average, then you will stay where you're at.
Right.
You need to be intentional with that.
100% agree on that.
And so you lucked out, but people have the choice. They can join a mastermind group of entrepreneurs or other types of groups like that. I'm in a whole bunch of them. And they help me in a variety of different areas of life. But at the end of the day, it comes back to what you said. You have to show up and do the work.
Yeah.
And that's where I think people struggle. They think there's because we were talking about this before the interview, people want passive income. People don't realize that to get passive income, you have to do a lot of work, and nobody tells them that. They all think like it's easy and there's no work involved. There's a ton of work in creating passive income.
Yeah, everyone that's watching YouTube that sees the guy with his Lamborghini that gets out, goes into this house and has stacks of cash. Well, first and foremost, the Lamborghini is rented, the house is rented for the day, and that stacks of cash is movie cash. But on that really, 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 really off chance that that is all real and he actually owns it outright, it wasn't just because he got onto Amazon and started selling a couple products here and there. That's diligent work. I mean, mass amounts of hours were poured into something to be successful. There's no overnight success. It does not exist. It never will exist. And whoever tells you that overnight success is a viable resource or an idea, they're just trying to take your money and run.
And that's how they make money. Let's get back to you're 14 years old. You sell the first bags of coffee. What happened next?
I thought, it's 2006, so fast forward 2 years, and I was selling coffee door to door for that long, actually. For 2 years, I sold door to door. I'd get, at the end of the day, after school, I'd come home, fill my backpack up, and go fill my orders, and realize that this is not going to be a growth company if I don't get onto the online game. And in 2006, online was just coming around in the e-commerce level. And, Amazon was not a household name. And it gave me a leg up. And I built my first website myself horrendously. I mean, probably one of the worst websites you've ever seen in your life. But it converted. I couldn't believe it. It converted. I'd make a couple sales a week. And I remember buying a couple boxes of coffee, right? So I went from buying, handful of bags to boxes. And then part of my room, I would have my shipping department where I would have, my envelopes, and I'd have my prepaid postage. Because at the time, you didn't print out this postage off of your Zebra printer and slap it. I mean, this is all very, 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 rudimentary stuff. And then also in 2006, I got my first retail location in AJ's Fine Food, which we still have. They're our oldest customer in retail, and we love them to death. The greatest grocery store in the world. And the manager, I dropped off samples, and the manager said, "Hey, we really like that coffee, but you need a $3 million insurance policy." And, 16-year-old goes, $3 million? I don't have $3 million. Well, come to find out, it's $3 million umbrella, not $3 million you have to put out. So, learning experiences, right? That's what business entrepreneurs are for, is learning experiences. And fall fast and hard and get up and keep going. But I would say that was the next step to the evolution of the company.
So did you go to college, or did you just keep building the company?
I did go to college, and I'm a dropout.
So what happened in college?
I had fun. I went there for 3 years. I was in the other school of business. And at one point, I just realized I was making more money keeping my business afloat than keeping my ass in the seat. And, had my college experience, had my college fun, realized that I can go make more money doing other things like my business, and just left.
That's kind of surprising, because you were 3 out of 4 years in.
Yeah.
And you just decided even then you're done.
Never looked back and never will. And I wasn't really an academic per se. I had a good GPA, but I thought school was too compartmentalized. It was an indoctrination, and that wasn't me. I was a free spirit. Always have been.
People don't think this way, but I think they should. Today, even a state school, $30,000, $60,000, $90,000, $120,000 over 4 years. Imagine investing $100,000
Good Lord.
in a startup
Yeah.
at 18, and I wouldn't even invest $100,000. Invest, $1,000 a month trying things out, or maybe $2,000 a month.
Sure.
Over 4 years, I've got to believe, right? Because you could do $1,500 a month for 4 years. You probably could figure out something cool to do in a way to succeed in the world that you're
absolutely.
guaranteed at.
I think college is for people that want to have titles behind their names, and I think it's extremely important that you go to college for that. Like, if you want to be a doctor, go to college. If you want to be an engineer, go to college. If you want to be a PhD in some science, go to college. If you want to be a chemist, go to college. But for entrepreneurs and, freelancers, or I don't know really what you would kind of categorize us as, but college is not for you. It's what it is it's a cost benefit that, weigh it out, right? I'm not here to tell anyone, because I don't know anyone's situation. If someone says I'm going to college, I say great. If someone says I didn't go to college, I say great. I respect either opinion, but what I will say is weigh out your cost benefit, and then weigh out your student loan, and figure out maybe if you put your student loan into a 401 or a Roth, or even if you did straight day investments and, you started just investing into stocks that you think were going to go up, you probably would come out positive at the end of 4 years.
Very, very true. Have you ever heard of Praxis?
I have not, actually.
You might enjoy this. So Praxis is... their concept is you don't need a college to unlock a career you love. And it's basically a mentorship program for a year. And then they find businesses to place you at to do what it is that you love. And so you might be able to find great people for your variety of businesses. They've got creatives. They've got all kinds of different kinds of people in there. And it's for people who don't want to follow the standard path.
Is it praxis.com?
It's discoverpraxis.com.
How do you spell Praxis?
Praxis. X is an X-ray.
Okay. Great.
My daughter looked at that. We met some people. She went back and forth. They're still building it. There's going to be so many. I think 10 years from now, the concept of college is going to be dramatically different.
Very much so.
COVID's already causing wave one, and then they were already in decline, and the world of online learning is coming up. And then there's so many new models that are coming out that I think there's going to be tremendous opportunity for people to skip the big bill, unless, like you said, you want to be a doctor, then you got to go do this. But for the rest of us.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say that also college is a great social experiment. You get to hang out with a lot of people. You make lifelong friendships, sorority or fraternity. You get to, build a brotherhood. Not so much anymore. I mean, college has changed. Like, you're right. It's not the old school college that we used to know. It's kind of a different college now. And plus, there is a weird thing going on in this college issue around America, and it's very indoctrination into socialism and communism. I'm sorry, it's just what it is. Like, I can't really put a blanket. I can't really, be less blunt about it. It's kind of just,
Again, you are the average of the 5 people around you, and if you look at the makeup of professors, you will understand why the mentality is the way it is. That's all you have to do. It's just, it is what it is. It's an issue for kids, and parents have to figure out what works for them.
Yeah.
So you're in college, the business is taking off. What happened next?
Well, I so I just realized that I was spending, I'd bring my laptop into class, and it was actually kind of funny because if you sat in the back of the auditorium, I'm not joking, about 90% of those laptops had Facebook on it. And I'm just like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, there's, that teacher could be just talking to himself, for Christ's sakes. But, and then we had like labs and stuff that we actually had to do work with. But the point is I wasn't on Facebook. What I was doing emails. I was, getting inventory set up to get delivered. I was making sure that this was running correctly. I was, putting ad dollars into our campaigns. I was doing things that I was learning, but I could teach it because I was doing it. The best example I can say is, so there's one huge thing that I wish I did other than going to an entrepreneurial lifestyle, and that is be a pilot. I wanted to be an Air Force pilot. I wanted to fly F-16s. I wanted to be a fighter pilot. And I went through ROTC and I went through ground school, and I learned, and the last second I didn't sign, but I learned that, going through ground school, you really in your mind go, okay, I got this, when you rotate, what's your pitch, how much weight can you have on the nose, weight and balances, fuel load from left to right wing. I mean, you start learning all this, and then you figure out, okay, if we're going to go to this compass heading, and then we're going to turn to this waypoint, and then we're going to contact tower on this squawk, and all this stuff. I got this. And then the first flight you have with an instructor, it just goes right out the window, and you're like, this is not like what I read in the books. Holy cow! This is way different. And then you're in 3D space, and so you're not expecting to get a thermal come up from underneath you, and you have to counteract that and things, right? Well, I equivalent that to business. A business, you can go to business school and you can learn all about business. You can understand business. You can figure it out business. And the second you open the doors in your business, it goes right out the window because it's not. It's real life.
That is true. So why did you leave flight school or the flight program?
I left flight school because I just realized I couldn't serve two masters. It was either the Air Force or my company, and I, to this day, don't really have an answer for you. I just don't. But
you were smart enough to realize you cannot serve two masters.
Right.
And so you picked one.
I did.
And that's fine. No regrets?
Sure.
You can go pay for an experience to fly a jet.
Oh, sure. And one day I'm going to go back to flight school and I'm going to get my license. And, it's just, I love flying. I think what it is I don't really love the aspect of just sitting in a seat for hours on end. I think I love the aspect of I can go anywhere in the world. I have freedom. I can be an airplane is a bird for a human. They're free to go about the world, and they get to see so many different things. And so I think that was the driving factor behind being a pilot. And my whole entire family was military. My grandfather was in the Navy in World War II, and my other cousins was a Marine, actually Air Force mechanic, submariner. So there's a lot of military background in my life. And I liked the structure of the military. I liked how it was built. And I also liked how they would pay for my pilot school. They'd pay for everything, and I could learn how to be an F-16 pilot. And, pulling four positive to 6 positive Gs going at, 8,000 feet a minute just sounded fun.
And it is a lot of fun. So you finish up college, the business is taking off. What happened next?
Well, we decided to get back into figuring out how to make the product better. So we already had this really good acid-free coffee. People were raving about it. And people still rave about it. We have an 80% retention rate in our customer base, and it's a commodity item, and it's insane, right? But then I said to myself, how do we make this better? And the way that I thought we could make this, and it worked out in our benefit by thousandfold, is we went USDA certified organic, which was a real in-depth process because we had to get audited and we had to make sure that everything was in, tolerances to the USDA and the NOP, and the regulatory agencies could come in and audit within 48-hour notice. And we learned a lot about how the process works. And when we went to USDA certified organic, that was really a huge stepping stone for the company. It was exciting.
And so then that helped you to boost your market. Is that what it did? Majorly,
because everyone, they were on the fence of, wow, that's expensive coffee. But then because the USDA poured billions of dollars into the marketing, now when people see organic, they are automatically equivalent to a higher percentage of cost. And so if you put two things on the shelf, and one's organic, one's not, you're looking at a 40% markup easily, right? So people then realized that the product was a viable product being USDA organic. Now, what did that do for the company? Well, it was really impressive because then we could justify the price point. Before that, we couldn't justify the price point not because we wanted to make money, we were greedy capitalists, but we have a very, very proprietary roasting process that uses 200 steps, and it's extremely precise, and each bean is individually roasted, and it's a very labyrinth process, and so it costs a lot of money to produce. Not to mention the bagging is a 4-layer Mylar system that has a built-in degassing valve, but before we do that, we purge the coffee with nitrogen so it suffocates the oxygen so there's no oxidation. So when you talk to people like this, how do you say that on the bag, right? It's very difficult. And also people read at a third grade level, so you've got to be a little bit more dumb. So when we went USDA organic, it allowed us to actually build a much bigger following because people would try it and then go, holy cow, that's good coffee.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. And I do know people will pay double for organic or more, and it's become big in the world.
Yeah.
So you follow the tide instead of going against it. Today's episode is sponsored by Profit Answer Man Podcast. Did you know that most small business owners hate looking at their financials? It's one reason they may struggle with business success. The Profit Answer Man podcast helps them ensure they are profitable and can pay their employees and weather the storms we all have to face. It's built on the Profit First methodology of pay yourself first. The Profit Answer Man podcast is a must listen to for every small business owner and anyone who wants to help them survive and thrive. Check it out on your favorite listening platform.
I went against it in the aspect that we're the world's first and only acid-free coffee, but then I went with it because USDA organic was definitely the crux to building the company bigger.
What was the hardest part of building your business?
The hardest part of any business that I would say, if that question didn't pertain to Tyler's Coffees, but pertained to any business, I would say the most important thing, the most hardest thing is acquiring customers.
And what's the best way to acquire customers?
Word of mouth.
So how do you get them to talk about you?
You got to build something that will be talked about. So when I talk to people about business and stuff like that, I say people have two things. They've got ears and they've got a mouth. 2 ears, one mouth. Most people will tell you how they feel about something. I would say 95%, maybe 5% are just so inverted that they don't even go out and see the world. But about 95% of humans are interactional, and we're social beings by human nature, right? So when you build a good product that supports and helps people with a modality that they already have, that no longer they can drink coffee, you're building an immense amount of PR through the customer base. And that customer base will be essentially diehards, and they will swear by it. And so they tell their friends, hey, this coffee is amazing. Well, Tyler's Coffees can put marketing dollars on a Facebook ad and say this coffee is amazing. And most people are going to be like, yeah, okay, the company says that they're cool. That's awesome. But when you have your friends say this company's awesome, that holds way more weight. And so what happens is people buy it.
Have you listened to the book Fanocracy?
No, I like that, though. It's a good name.
It's David Meerman Scott, and he talks about how you build your fan base. And he talks about companies that build fans, that you build relationships with your customers.
You have to.
You have to. And I think that's essentially what you're talking about, because you do offer phenomenal customer service. Can you share a little bit about what that looks like?
Well, you can call us 24/7, 7 days a week, even on Christmas Eve. And we'll pick up the phone and say, thank you for calling Tyler's Coffees. How can we help you today? And that's not a normal coffee company. The other thing is, if it's not right, now here's the caveat here. We sell to Amazon third party, we sell to Walmart third party, and we sell to other companies third party. We don't really have control over their customer service. It's impossible, right? We just can't do it. But TylersCoffees.com, which is the owner's company, the OEM company, I guess is what you want to call it. We give you the utmost customer service, and if it's not right, we'll make it right. And so that's it. We've had customers say, "Oh, I got a broken bag in the mail." No problem, we'll send it out. Send you out a new bag. What do you want me to do with this other bag? Send it back? No. Do whatever you want with it. I'm of the person that if someone's going to give me bad customer service, I'm not going to do business with them. So why would I do that to my customers?
Do you have a set of values that you've built your company around?
The best or nothing, just like Mercedes.
Okay. That's more of a slogan though, right? Or is it?
No, that's pretty it, man. I mean, we strive ourselves on absolutely the best or nothing. Like we single source our coffee, which means that we can have complete control over our screen, what color the beans are going to be. If they're discoloration, we won't accept them. If they have wormholes in them, we won't accept them. We don't artificially powder the caffeine in our coffee, so you don't have this up and then crash. It's a very natural high, I guess is what you want to call it. We don't add any chemicals to our decaffeination process. It's all Swiss water done. We make sure it's the best.
And that's important, right? Doing your best and showing up. So just out of curiosity, we're going through difficult times again as a country, and we will constantly have difficult times. The cycles always repeat. What advice do you have for young people today?
Well, I don't know how political I can get on your show.
You are free to say whatever you want. That's your opinion, and I'm okay with that. Everyone has their own opinion. I'm not going to judge you for it.
No, listen, I would say this to a young person. I would say, do you enjoy being free? Do you enjoy having, your rights? Do you enjoy not having, the government control you? Well, then you should look at the candidates that are coming up for election, and you should make your own decision. There's a lot of people out there that are trying to take away America's freedom as we know it. There's a lot of people that are trying to encompass the taxes times 3. So what that means is that if you go work, say, for $15 an hour job, at the end of the day, you're taxed now 3 times on that money versus once. And do you really enjoy not having to work forever and not ever go forward? I think other people need to understand that America is built around one thing, and that is we are free and we are able to succeed. There's no other country in the world that has that. You either are an aristocrat where you're born into wealth and you're very privileged and you get to live that life, or you are born and you are given essentially a job, and that job will give you X amount of dollars, and that's kind of where you're at. And if you want to invent something or you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to go to the government and ask for permission. In America, you don't. You can be your own person and you can do whatever you want under the confines of the law. I mean, there's certain things that you can't do, but what I'm trying to say is it's extremely important that we keep our freedom.
And I think that goes generationally. And what I mean by that is young people tend to want more support, and then they get older and then they switch sides. And that's not to say everyone does, but that's kind of the thing. Unfortunately, I think we have a political system now that both sides are an absolute disaster, and neither side is coming to the center to work together, which is what we like. That used to be, and not even that long ago, maybe 20, 30 years ago, the congressmen would scream at each other across the aisle, and then they'd go have a beer together and they'd work it out. Today, that doesn't happen. And that's the bigger part of the problem. Because of that, we have to give up. The politicians are giving up far more than they need to because they have to come up with these crazy ideas.
And that's personally why I'm for, and it was a one-party system when Lincoln won the Civil War, and we were all united under America's, Constitution. But I will say this. I personally agree with you, and I think that we should go back to a one-party system and allow the public to only vote in people, not parties, not ideas. It's like, no, these are what we agreed on 200 years ago, and it kind of worked out for us. So if you think that you're going to sway these concepts, I'm sorry, we're not going to allow you to be in power. But unfortunately, that's not the case.
It would be interesting to have people run as people instead of being part of a party that now fights another party. The other option is to figure out a way. The reality is more people will not vote than do vote. So if the people who don't vote could vote for a couple other parties, it would dilute all of each party's party power. And so they'd have to work together. And that's what happens in a lot of other countries is there's multiple parties and you have to start finding coalitions, which means you need to work together. And that kind of comes back to entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is finding people to help you. It's not a do-it-yourself type of path. Find people to help you work together for the greater good. And that's how you have success.
Yeah. So when it comes down to it, so I'm never going to support giving money for something that's not given back. What I mean by that is my employees get paid very handsomely because they do a great job. If you don't do a good job, then I'm not going to hire you. But if you work, then you should be compensated for your work. The other system works off of you don't have to work, we'll compensate you, you'll get paid, but then when we come to you and say we need something from you, you have to give it to us. And it's kind of like just a helicopter mom, just I'm going to sit over there and micromanage every part of your life, but don't worry, I'm going to take care of you. It's like, yeah, well, why don't I just take care of myself?
That is true. Is there anything else along your journey to building the company that you think was worthwhile to share that we haven't covered already?
Yeah. When you fail, it's okay. When you fail on the same thing twice, then you really need to reevaluate your life.
And that's true, because failure means that you tried something and you learned from it. Repeating your failure is you weren't learning the lesson.
Right.
And so that's an important thing. First time's fine, and you should. As a matter of fact, Amazon likes to fail a lot. That's kind of their business model, is try different things and see what works, because you never know until you try.
Right.
But then don't do it again if you've already learned your lesson. And that's very, very true.
Yeah, I mean, when Amazon acquired Whole Foods in that first transitional period, they had horrible problems. They couldn't get product on the shelves. There were empty shelves. Their employees didn't know who they were getting paid from. Was it Amazon? Was it Whole Foods? Their HR didn't know head from tails. Everyone was laughing at Amazon saying, they know packages and they know hard goods, but they shouldn't get in grocery. Well, now look at them. They're kicking ass and taking names. So
keep trying, keep taking a step forward, and you keep getting better. And that's just the way it is. We always like to leave people with an action step. What is one thing people can do this week to take a step forward in their lives?
Well, it's really basic, right? So I'm a very intellectual person. I love to think, and I love to learn about new and exciting technologies, and I love complex things. But at the end of the day, I like to set it all down and make it as basic as possible. I can't stress this enough. If you are interested in being an entrepreneur, you have to look at yourself in one way. Am I ready to lose everything? And if you're not ready to lose everything, if you say, okay, I don't know if I can lose everything. And I mean everything, like, oh my God, I'm homeless, I'm on the street. Then it's probably not the right path for you. And what I mean by that is if you're in a healthy career position and you're making money, then you think to yourself, well, I can run this on the side. Well, again, you can't serve two masters. You got to figure out what you want to do. And if you got laid off from COVID, maybe you're forced into entrepreneurialism, and maybe you're going to be able to be flourishing and make a new business out of it and be like, holy cow, I never knew I was going to make this kind of money. Why would I ever go back to work? And for that, I congratulate you. But what I'm trying to explain to your listeners is entrepreneurialism is not for everyone. It's for a certain amount of people that are willing to lose everything to gain immensely. And for that, I will say, if you're not ready, don't do it.
And I think that's one of the things people don't realize, that entrepreneurship is probably one of the best paths to building wealth, because you have the ability to truly scale. The problem is most people are bad at it, and that's why businesses fail, because they're not good at, they do what they want instead of what they need to do, unfortunately.
Right.
And that creates a big problem.
Yeah, it takes I wrote an article in my local paper, and the headline was Necessity of Tenacity. and you have to be tenacious about what you want. And I also, believe in giving yourself quote unquote breaks. So work for an hour, break for half an hour, work for an hour, break for half an hour. Now I'm at the point where I don't even get break. I don't get lunch, like after this, I'm going to do 5 other things and then I'll realize, I have to go home. It's 5:00. And it's because I'm super busy because I'm building a bigger business. So I bring lunch to myself, not I go get lunch. The point is when you're starting out, the phone's not ringing off the hook. You're not making mega money. And it's hard for someone to just not say, screw it, I'll just go watch Netflix. I'll just watch this one episode. You got to stay really focused on something that you want to accomplish because it's not a set it and forget it system. I mean, you're exactly right, Rocky. When you said that, passive income is not passive, you worked very hard to build that passive income level. It's very true. And unless you put the initial effort, energy, time, work, motivation to build something up front, it will never, ever give you the results that you're looking for.
And I think that same principle can be applied to every area of life, is you have to put the effort and the time into it and make sure it's what you want. And then you're just going to have to struggle and deal with it and get it done. That's just life. It's time to learn the secrets of life. What's your secret to living an abundant life?
My secret to living an abundant life would be working on how do I build more wealth. That's a good question because it's a kind of a hard answer. Abundance is of the person's mindset. So if you want to build abundance of time because you want to spend more of it with your children and your family, if you want to build more wealth because you want to have more freedom to do whatever you want to do in life, and money buys freedom, it buys problems. People's very, very famous person, I can't remember his name off the top of my head because I put myself on the spot, but it said, you don't have a problem if you can buy it. And money buys problems. And so it depends on what kind of aspect you're trying to accomplish with that. I would say that an abundance of me is wealth and health. I mean, health first, wealth second. I mean, if you don't have your health, then you have nothing. And I love just biohacking my health. Like I like, taking vitamins, like juice every day. I do yoga, I swim, I exercise. Like to me, that's building abundance.
That's cool. And health is very important because without it, you spend all your money trying to buy it back.
Right.
What did you learn later in life that you wish you would have learned sooner?
Patience is a virtue.
Yeah, entrepreneurs aren't patient.
We're very, very not patient.
I need it done yesterday.
Exactly. And you know what? That's the other thing is my office had to sit down with me and they said, Tyler, we love you. We love what you're doing. We're for you. We support you. Can you stop micromanaging us?
That was good that they came and told you that. I hope you listened.
I did. It's hard. It's hard because it's your child. And you know what? I use this analogy a lot. I don't have children myself, but when I do have a child and the first day I give them to strangers at a daycare facility, it's going to be hard because it's like, well, is he going to pick up, is he going to get sick? Are they going to treat him well? Is he going to fall off the chair and bang his head? Like, you start thinking about all this. And, your business. Once you give it to people, are they going to do the job? Are they just going to sit there and play Facebook? Are they going to actually, get their job tasks done? And what you do to mitigate all this is you build in goals. Okay, I want this monetary goal this week. How are we going to accomplish that? Well, Tyler, we think that if we contact this many people, we'll get this many people that buy the coffee and this many people return, and we think that we're going to, get to that goal. Okay, great, let's do it. And then, 2 hours later, have you called those people? And that's where I need to step back. I need to let them do the thing.
It is like being a parent. If you were to give an 18-year-old one specific piece of wisdom, what would it be?
Save. Don't go spend money on things that you think that you want.
It's funny because that's the reason I became a millionaire. At 21, I started saving. Yeah. And literally it compounds and it works, and it's a proven system. If people would like to find you and connect, find out more about Tyler's Coffee, how do they do that?
Well, they can go to Google and type in acid-free coffee. We're number one on Google. TylersCoffees.com. That's TylersCoffees.com. And you can use promo code at checkout, Tyler, all lowercase, 2020 for 20% off your first order.
Cool. And I will put all of that into the show notes to make it easy for people to find it. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Rocky. I really appreciate the time, and wow, great insight from you.
I enjoyed Tyler's honesty in stating what he believes. At the end of the day, we do need to do the work. I still wish my kids skipped college, but it's okay. They're still learning something, and they found a way to get through without spending a fortune. This week's action step was, if you're interested in being an entrepreneur, you have to be ready to lose it all. Are you ready? That's pretty big. The problem is, even if you have a job, you can lose that. Just recently, I'm hearing stories again of people being laid off through no fault of their own, and now they're struggling to find work in this uncertain economy. Either way, it's risky. And that's why I like to have multiple streams of income, because if one goes bad, you still have others at work. For us, it's paper assets like stocks and bonds, real estate. I used to have a job and a side business. Now I just have a business, but my wife still has a job. Relying on one source of income is risky. And sometimes, like the people I spoke to you about, you lose your income stream through no fault of your own. Technology is also upending many industries, making it even harder. I don't recommend going back to school to pivot. I recommend learning on the side through the so many ways that are free or low-cost ways of learning. Getting back to trust, more and more business owners are hiring based on behaviors and values because they can't teach those easily, but they can teach you how to do the work. So I ask you, what are your core values, and do you exemplify them when you're at work? We're going to have 2 episodes released next week for the holidays, talking about mindset, real estate, and business. I think as you close out the year, they will give you a lot to ponder as you decide on your 2021 plans. Hey, let's connect on the Facebook page and Facebook group for Richer Soul. Check them out. Always happy to answer questions there and just chat and see how you're all doing. Thanks for listening. Have an abundant week.